Learning to surrender to Christ naturally led me to a simpler life. But I know that's not for everyone. Let me share why it's been such a blessing to me. Hi, I'm Gina. Welcome to Hope and Cope. Here we explore biblical concepts and essential skills for victorious Christian living, even in the face of extreme hardship. The topic for today is simplify, simplify, simplify. In this video, I'll teach you how it helped me on my journey of surrender, and who knows, it might help you too. I saved my best tip for last, so stay with me to the end, and when you do, that helps my channel to grow. So I knew as a natural part of my new priority to give my life up that I would begin to let go of material things. In part, they wouldn't be needed anymore, and in part, God was just changing my desires. Do you remember when I talked in one of the former videos about how God changed my heart and taught me the lesson about holding on to my corn and learning to hold on to it loosely? Well, now I was trying to hold on loosely to all of my material possessions, so that at the time, if needed, that God was going to take them away or it was no longer going to be necessary, that I could let them go without too much of a fight. At the point that I began my surrender journey, I was very wounded. I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed. It's just that simple. And if you personally can juggle all the things in your life without getting exhausted, then I don't know if you need to simplify. If you know where everything is and you manage your stuff well and your time well, then this is probably not for you. That was not me. I couldn't keep my space tidy or organized, and I was constantly feeling defeated from all the things I needed to do and either didn't have the time to do, wouldn't make the time to do, or couldn't stay on top of them no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't keep my time organized. I was always running late and forgetting things, and sometimes really important things. I didn't fit in other things that really mattered to me, like devotional time and exercise. When Rob lost his job and I had to go to work, my whole life changed. I was so devastated that all I could do was go to work, put on a happy face for work, and then when I would go home, I would just collapse and was not able to do anything. I went from being a homemaker with lots of stuff to a person with no time for anything. Then when Rob had his accident in 2018 and broke his neck, we had to sell our house. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to let go of. In some ways, I was happy to let it go. In some ways, I was happy to get out of there. There were so many awful memories there. I felt so oppressed there. But it was also our home for 30 years, and our last child, Tiffany, was born when we lived at that home. So leaving there was hard, and being homeless was hard. It made me feel very vulnerable. I can't explain it except to say that if Jesus hadn't been walking with me through that time, I may have really lost it. Anyway, that home had 30 years of life stored in it. And pretty much right after Rob's accident, I moved in with my daughter, Shannon, while he was in the nursing home for almost a year. And then he went from there to the spinal cord injury clinic. He was there for about 6 months. And then finally he got released in February of 2020. So we bought a condo where he was physically able to be accommodated. So it had an elevator, it had a parking garage. We lived there for 2 years. But all of that stuff from that house was not going to fit in that small condo. When I went to work, when I had to go to work and my life changed so much, I got rid of some things. One of the things that I eventually realized I couldn't hold on to or didn't have a need for any longer was scrapbooking stuff. I loved scrapbooking in years past. But then I started having slow realizations of other things that just weren't useful to me anymore. I was not in the same season of my life, and I didn't have any need for them, and I started to let them go. And then when we sold that house and we had to pack, I got rid of more stuff. And then when we moved into the condo, I got rid of more stuff. And then we moved into my mom's house a couple years ago. And here is where I'm really having to get creative about my small space. I don't have a lot of things I had before. I don't have sets of things. I mean, I have one set of dishes and some glasses. I have a few pots and pans. I just don't have a lot of things. I don't have a kitchen appliance for everything. So I've really had to downsize. But let me go ahead and address the thing you're probably already thinking about, and that's the hardest thing to deal with when we're talking about downsizing, when we're talking about simplifying and getting rid of things, and that's the sentimental things. You know, we can say, oh, my mama gave me this, or I got this on that high school trip 40 years ago. You know, things can really get we can get a sentimental attachment to things, but letting go of sentimental items is one of the hardest parts of simplifying. but it can also help a person to heal. You've probably heard these suggestions, and you can take them if you want. They're just good advice, and that is, you can, if you have a lot of something, teapots or sets of dishes, you can just choose one. Just narrow it down to one, or just a few. If you've got a lot of things, if you collect something that you have a lot of things, just pick some favorites and just whittle your collections down. You can start small. You can start with just a drawer or a closet. Then build, let your momentum build as you start to just clean out one thing at a time. For sentimental items, you could create a memory box, put some of your favorite things in there, set it up like a little memory box. Something that I have done is I just take pictures of things. If there are things that the children, I still have grandchildren, they still draw things and color things. And if I want to keep it, I just take a picture of it, and then I can hold on to that picture. If you want to make a hard copy of that picture, you could put it in a notebook and journal about the picture. If there was something specific you wanted to remember, you could always write the date and who wrote it on the back of the picture. So there's a lot of ways that you can let go of some of those sentimental things. So the next thing that's really hard to let go of is cards and letters. It might be cute when you're 20 and you keep all the cards and letters you've ever gotten, but when you get to be my age, that's a huge amount of storage. So the hardest thing for me when we moved into our condo and we brought all of our boxes out of storage, and a lot of those boxes were boxes of sentimental things, and I had to reduce them, I went through my cards and letters, and I got rid of a lot of the cards that Rob had written me. So there was a lot of cards and letters that were just very sweet, and they were reminiscent of happy times. They were Valentine's cards or anniversary cards, birthday cards, and they had a lot of sweet things in them. But then after the addiction came, there were cards and letters that were apologies and promises, and then those promises ended up being broken, and so just a lot of broken promises, a lot of my broken heart, and then after time there was just fewer and fewer cards and letters, period, from Rob. And then of course now he can't really write. He can sign his name, but he can't really write anymore, and so that is a past phase in our life. But I just personally chose to keep very little of that stuff. In my opinion, it was not going to benefit anyone. I didn't want my girls, my daughters, to have to go through that when we're gone. And I thought, who would it help? Who would it be a blessing to? And I just determined it would be a blessing to no one to have to go back and read all those things. So I let them go. Do you need to let things go? Are there things that are holding you back in some way? Do you have some kind of hurtful attachments or sad memories attached to some things? Only you know if there are wrong ties to things or people through the things that you're holding on to. And trust me, I know how that can be. I know how we can have attachments to people because of things, because I've been there. I've had to let go of things that I felt like that was an attachment to that person, and it's just not easy. But if they are hurtful attachments, if they're inappropriate or wrong attachments, they've lived, their lifespan is over, then it might be time for you to let it go. Sometimes cleaning out a closet can be like cleaning out a dark corner of your heart, and it can help your heart to let things go and heal. Please tell me, why do we keep clothes that don't fit? For the hope that someday things will go back to the way they were? Maybe. But if it's been more than a year, my recommendation to you is just to get rid of them. Just let them go. Let that season be past and let it go. Sometimes we have to just let ourselves feel the feelings. There's sad feelings that are attached to things, but we can let ourselves feel those feelings, grieve that season that's past, journal about it if you want to, call a friend, say a prayer for strength, and then just let it go. Don't hold on to things that when you look at them, they only make you have sorrow or guilt or regret or self-condemnation. Don't let things define you. And this is where my Blueprint for Serenity is a very helpful tool in dealing with difficult things, and I will leave a link in the description box to that. Think about it and let me know what reasons you have for holding on to things that maybe you should be letting go. If you're called to lay your life down so you can gain a new life in Christ, letting go can be spiritually beneficial. Don't let things hold on to you. You get to decide what's important to you and what is helpful to you on your faith journey. You want a life full of Christ, not full of fluff or busy stuff to just keep you busy or keep you occupied or distracted from your purpose, or worse, defeated and depressed. So my final point is, don't let stuff own you. Make everything in your home or space earn its place, meaning it should serve you in some way. the things that you own should have some kind of purpose. And my guidelines for the purpose is it beneficial to my heart, my health, or my household? And I try to use that rule, that 3 H's there, and decide if things have earned their place in my home. If all these things feel kind of heavy, I understand, and I have a video about being a victorious victim, and I think it might give you the encouragement you need. So I will link that at the end of this video. So thank you for your time. I love your feedback, so leave me a comment. Remember, I'm praying for you, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate if you'd pray for me. And I love you, and God bless.